Why is the United Nations rushing to recognize full Palestinian statehood? I have a theory. Now, I'm going to say this as simply as I can. In 2024 and 2025, several governments rushed toward recognizing a Palestinian state. And some say it's just diplomacy. I think there's more going on at home here. We've got immigration trends, big street protests, and political pressure going on throughout Europe. So let me lay out the facts, the rules, the timeline, and the data gaps, and a testable theory, and you can decide. So here's the path we're going to take in plain English. What the UN actually requires for full state membership, the classic statehood checklist, known as the Montevideo from 1933, and a quick timeline, who recognized when, and the domestic angle, why timing might not be an accident. We'll also look at a few crime statistics, reality, and what's published and what isn't. And also maybe some counterpoints and what to watch next. So, what the UN actually requires for statehood under the UN Charter, Article 4, full membership to get into the UN takes two steps. First, the Security Council recommends, and second, then the General Assembly admits them. In 2012, the Palestinian mission got non-member observer state status. In April 2024, the Security Council did not recommend full membership because the U.S. vetoed. In May 2024, the General Assembly said Palestine is qualified, even though they weren't, and gave more privileges and an observer, not membership. Now, the Security Council gate still matters, what they're blocking. And here's the classic checklist, the Montevideo 1933 checklist for recognizing a country as a state, let's say. It's got 4 points, and they're very, very basic. They have to have a permanent population. They have to have a defined territory with very clear borders. They have to have a fully functioning government, which Palestine does not have. They kind of have two factions, PLO or Fatah, and then Hamas. Not quite there. They have to have capacity for foreign relations, which is recognition by other states. And the recognition we see by other states is political, but this is the core test. Many argue these points are not all satisfied in a subtle way right now, and I agree they're not. And the recognition timeline and why the clustering matters. In 2012, UN Observer State status, 2014 to 2015, first notable move, Sweden. In 2024, Ireland, Spain, Norway, Slovenia, they gave the offering. In 2025, more high-profile moves reported in Europe, the Anglosphere. An example, the United Kingdom, Canada, Australia, Portugal, and membership still requires the Security Council step. And that hasn't happened yet. Thank God. The domestic angle, why now, might be because over the last 10 to 15 years, Europe and the UK saw large inflows from the Middle East and North Africa. A massive 2015-2016 asylum wave, and another surge in 2023-2024. It sort of reminds me a bit of the Islamic expansionism that happened right after Muhammad's death in 632, and leading up to the Crusades in a response because of all the attacks that the Arabs and Islam did against places in Europe, including Rome. We got to look at that, and I've got some videos out on that as well. There was another surge, as I mentioned, 2023, 2024, and after the October 7th atrocities perpetrated against Israel, we saw a sustained, very large protest going on, intense politics in big cities. And my theory, and I'm going to call it that, it's simple. Alongside foreign policy goals, some leaders are also trying to cool things down at home. And of course, many of them are anti-Semitic, but recognition sends a signal abroad and to the street. We hear you. It functions as a pressure value, or a pressure valve, The more unrest that we see, To quell that unrest, certain steps are going to be made. Well, this doesn't prove my theory. It just suggests some timing might be doing some of the talking, especially when we have really terrible leaders like, the Prime Minister of Canada, the Prime Minister there in England, really bad guys. But let's look at crime and data reality as well, and what we do and don't know. This part matters. People ask, is unrest connected to crime? And the honest answer, data is a little bit patchy. And I'm not going to go into all of the data, even though I've got the whole thing. But here's the plain language map. Germany, they publish detailed police suspect stats and a separate annual on crime in the context of migration. But the big caveat, a chunk of migration content counts are immigration-only offenses. You sneaking into the country, etc. And when you remove those, the picture changes dramatically. France, they publish something known as mise en cause, persons implicated, and often show shares for foreign nationals by offense type. And data exists, but you got to interpret that with care. In the Netherlands, official stats break down suspects by migration background, but that's more first generation, second generation, but it's useful, but definitions matter. In the United Kingdom, and this is really disturbing, especially if you watch any news and see all of the violent crime happening in places like London, police do not publish a comprehensive crime by immigration status series. The closest official proxy is prison population by nationality, which is not the same thing as crime rate by immigrants. In Ireland, similar story, no routine police series by immigration status. Prison nationality shares are sometimes cited as a rough proxy. In the European Union-wide, Eurostat regularly reports prisoners by citizenship. We'll get that down. But that's different from offenders by immigration status, and it mixes many, many factors. So the bottom line, some countries do publish detailed suspect stats tied to nationality or migration background. Germany, France, Netherlands. Others don't. UK, Ireland, and we really need to look there. So people end up using prison nationality, which is only a proxy and is very misleading, especially if it's treated as a direct crime rate measure. Now, this is why hard apples to apples comparisons across Europe are tricky. It's more apples to oranges, and why conclusions should be careful. So here's the counterpoints you might hear. Europe's recognition moves may reflect long-standing two-state policy, not street politics. Okay, fair enough. Leaders may sincerely believe recognition revives diplomacy and reduces violence overall. And Montevideo can be interpreted amidst disputed borders and split governance. And obviously, correlation is not equal to causation. A timeline overlap isn't automatic proof. So what to watch next? So we don't guess? Listen to the speeches. Do leaders mention social cohesion or public order when they justify recognition? And the timing. Do recognitions follow protest spikes or election pressures? I believe they have been. Look at the Security Council. Any new path to actual recommendation? And Palestinian governance. Do we see credible steps toward unified authority, security reform, and treaty-making capacity? So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you to see the whole board, the law, the timeline, and the realities at home. And if you want the sources in a one-page handout, well, check the description, and I'm going to be publishing something a little bit later and maybe putting it on Patreon so you can see it all and make your own decisions. But show me your data, and let's do this honestly. In the meantime, like, share. If you're on YouTube, subscribe. If you are on Rumble, follow this. And the extended data and links will be on Rumble a little bit later. Thanks for watching, and so much more coming up. You have a great day. We'll talk more in a bit. Bye.